That's an eternity of basketball ahead of us. Another beautiful steal penetrated by White. The action continues. A let's go situation here. Alexei Deacon going up against another team. Jeffrey Moore has perfect access to the bucket. What you saw from that normal replay of that last bit of action was Juan Fernandez actually wanting to take off the against Master Jaworski. We're crossing the Twilight Zone. That's an eternity of basketball ahead of us.
It's been 2 years since we started the Pasig River Cleanup and Dredging Project. Before that, we were doing the Tulyahan River Cleanup Project in 2020. For Pasig River, Mr. Ang is allocating 2 billion pesos to clean up the river. We are pleased to report that so far for the past 2 years that we have been cleaning up, we have already removed about 1.3 million metric tons of silt and waste in both Pasig River and San Juan River. And we have already covered more than 22 kilometers of the 27 kilometers of Pasig River, and here more than 5.4 kilometers of San Juan River. So our focus was really more on the shallow areas of both the rivers.
Importante yung talaga dredging. Pero mo, 1 meter lang, ilalagyan mo tubig. Paano hindi aapaw dito sa lupain? Kaya yun ang isang problema. Tara, napakagaling ang San Miguel sa tulong para sa taong bayan. Last 2 years, medyo mababaw na lang. Walang gaanong problema.
Nung hindi pa nag-dredging dito ang San Miguel, binabaha dati. Pero ngayon wala naman. Hindi na masyadong mataas ang tubig. Wala na masyado kaming pangamba dito.
Ang mga ganda na collective efforts, we really can solve this problem. Kasi economically uplift the livelihoods of the poor and the rich. Para magpantay-pantay, ayos lahat para kaginhawa for everyone.
We're almost nearing the completion of the river cleanup here in Pasig River and San Juan River. We are targeting to finish by July or August of this year. Our aim to contribute to the community that San Miguel is able to help in the not only in terms of reducing river pollution, but also to increase the water holding capacity of the river so that we can mitigate flooding in the future.
This is an eternity of basketball as part of the Globally Ballin Network. We are on the Globally Ballin YouTube page. The most trending episodes on YouTube. Mon Fernandez at number 1 all the way down to Oscar Rocha at number 10. Which one is your favorite? Keep watching us on Globally Ballin. And then check out the Globally Ballin Network for original articles, audio and video projects. GloballyBallin.com is the website to check out all of that. Check out the social media as well. Catch us live on Twitter. We're on the Twitter page of Globally Ballin, streaming right now aside from YouTube and Facebook, so you can watch us there. And the link that you need is linktree/GloballyBallin for easy access to all of that. Okay, here we go. It's episode 191 of An Eternity of Basketball. I'm Charlie Cuna together with Sid Ventura, just the two of us today. And we're going stateside on this day, and very privileged to have our guest on this day. He's a Dookie, and if you know the history of the Duke Blue Devils, he's one of the best in that on that team, who had to have played on that team. He knows Mike Krzyzewski because Mike Krzyzewski came in his senior year. So Mike Krzyzewski coached him, and he was the top scorer for that team back in 1980. And he's a Hall of Famer for the Duke Blue Devils, played in the NBA for 6 seasons for the Spurs and the Bulls. And, well, let's just dive into it and get the whole story from the man himself. They call him Tinkerbell. We're going to talk about that later on. His name is Gene Banks. We'll bring him in right now. Gene, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's an honor, especially you doing this from Manila. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. We're both here in Manila. And, just to tell everybody, let's start by telling everybody how we got in touch with Gene. He's a friend of our good friend, Andrew Fields, who came out on the show. I saw you in a photo with Andrew. I said, "Hey, Andrew, maybe you think we can get Gene Banks on the show?" And then that's how things got rolling. So thanks to Andrew Fields. I hope he's going to tune in today. He knows that you're on the show. So
well, let me just say that Andrew Fields was a guy I watched coming up and was playing, and he was just a dominating, amazing player, and really even a better person. Just an amazing guy, and it's always good to see him. He brings back all the memories of when I was coming up. Remembering him when he played.
And he was a superstar here in the Philippines. Played for 4 or 5 seasons here for one of the top teams, and brought championships. He was the first ever best import
Yeah. Award.
awardee here in the Philippines in the professional league here. So,
Yeah.
well, Andrew, I hope he's watching it in a bit. But let's get to your
Yeah.
story, Gene. In a country where there's all sorts of sports, American football, baseball, etc. Why basketball?
It's interesting. The thing about basketball for me, really didn't like basketball. My dad was a good player, and he played a lot around the sandlots around Philadelphia, different places like 40th and Woodland Avenue, Myers, Haddington. All the greats played there. Wilt Chamberlain, Wally Jones, Earl Monroe, even Wally Rice. I can go down a list of basketball in Philadelphia was just amazing. Of all the great players that came out of there, Andre McCarter, Joe Bryant, who is Kobe Bryant's father. These guys were just amazing. And coming up through that era that I played, and some of the guys that played with me, like the late great Michael Brooks and the late great Lewis Lloyd, and my teammate, the late great Clarence Tillman, Aggie Tillman. Basketball was just amazing. And when my dad finished playing, I was a young kid. He would call me over to the court, and he would just throw the ball at me, and he tripped me, gave me a wedgie. He made it fun, he made it fun, and then I started going out with him. And as I started getting bigger, he would put me on his teams, and if you play in the sandlots, the cement courts, you win, you stay on. If you lose, you're off. But he covered my back. That's why I learned a lot of my game from some of the old heads, Hildebrand Pelzer, Sonny Hill, Gilbert Saunders. It's just so much that I learned, and I started liking the game. And it was more so because Dad and I were hanging out together.
Yeah.
But did you dabble? Yeah, go ahead, Sid. Go ahead, Sid.
You mentioned a lot of names earlier. Philadelphia
Yeah.
greats that you mentioned. One of those names that really stood out, maybe for our viewers, is Lewis Lloyd, the late
Yes.
Lewis Lloyd, because he actually played here
Yes.
for a couple of
Yes.
seasons as an import, early 1990s. I remember he had legitimate NBA pedigree, and when he came over, he really stood out among all of the imports here.
He was the first guy that they called the Euro step, that Euro step move. Lewis Lloyd was really the first guy I ever saw do that. He was doing that in high school, and then he went on to play at Drake, and then also with the Houston Rockets. We were like in high school, we were number one team in the country, and they were right behind us. We were in the same division. So one of the reasons why they weren't like one of the top teams in the nation, because they got 2 losses on us, and in those ratings you got to have less losses. But Overbrook High School was one of the best high school teams in the country, and I'm not just saying that, but we had battles. We were like Ali Frazier, that was how it was, and it was amazing to play against someone like him.
Yeah,
That's right.
Overbrook
Great
is also
reference.
where Wilt Chamberlain attended high school, right?
Yeah, Overbrook High School is where Wilt Chamberlain went to school. Will Smith went to school there. Wally Jones, Walt Hazard, a plethora of people that went to Overbrook High School, and they were our rivals, and they weren't too far from us. And they talk about Duke Carolina rivalry, but Overbrook High School versus West was a major rivalry. So I was already prepared for that.
Right, and because you mentioned already about high school and then West Philadelphia, you got a great career over there playing at West Philadelphia. I think it's time we should enter the first segment of our show right away. We'll enter what it's called the time capsule. We prepared a bunch of photos from your career, so we're gonna go back and look at that. And this is brought to us by Fitbit. It helps everyone in the world get healthier, from counting your steps to giving personalized insights on your heart rate and sleep patterns. Log your exercise and access great tools and content on the Fitbit Premium, all of the Fitbit platform. So check out all their line of products on Fitbit.com. Feel the power. Okay, let's go to photo number 1. And because we're talking about West Philly, there you are.
Wow. Oh, wow.
In motion.
Wow.
So, and a lot of our photos today, we actually got from Gene Banks' own website, genebanks.com. and so that's West Philly. And look at him. I mean, that's not a high school guy. This guy is like an NBA. That's an NBA body right there playing in high school. And I'm sure you were toying with the guys. He played for a team called the Speed Boys.
Yes.
And Gene and I were talking. And can you tell us about that? Why Speed Boys?
Yeah, West Philadelphia is an area. I can tell you more about that, but the Speed Boys name was more so because the moniker came because the school was good for track back in the early 50s and the 60s, and that is our official name. And the great thing about that was that name was unique, different than anything else. But in this picture, that's a picture that we played at the Palestra, which is where University of Pennsylvania had the games. They had the Big Five: Temple, LaSalle, St. Joe's, Villanova. And in this game, we played Father Judge and the Catholic. That was a city championship game. And the referee that refereed this game is the great Joey Crawford, and of the NBA.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So he was a high school referee still at the time.
Yes,
That's before
yes.
he became an NBA guy. Okay.
Yes,
So,
Joey Crawford was amazing even back then. Here's a white guy coming into the black community areas, and he was gutsy, and he's beloved by everybody, especially by me. He's the most amazing guy. And then I also had him in my biggest game with the Spurs. He ref that game, so we're connected, and he's been so helpful throughout my life, and such a great guy.
when you were like in this photo, how old are you here? You're probably in your teens.
I was 17,
right?
I think I was, yes.
17 years old. At 17 years old, you mentioned all these big names, as Sid mentioned earlier, that were playing in the area. But did you have any idols already at the time, like NBA guys that you looked up to and wanted to be like?
It's really interesting because we know Wilt Chamberlain was great back in those days, even earlier when I was just starting to play basketball. But you know, we take for granted our heroes that are around us. My idol was Jerry West. I like Jerry West, the way he shot and so forth. But Wilt Chamberlain was one of the guys. I would rush home. I was still staying with my grandparents at the time, and we watched the Lakers where they had Jerry West, Gail Goodrich, Pat Riley was on that team as well. Yeah. And we would watch that game, and I loved watching Jerry West so much and enjoyed watching play. But Wilt Chamberlain was dominant. We loved, he was beloved by me and by everybody. But Jerry West was pretty much my idol.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So along
with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, and Joe Frazier's from Philadelphia. So
yeah,
I love that you're talking about it, because one of their best fights, if not their best fight, was held here in Manila. The Thriller in Manila. Yeah. That's right. So that was focused now because the Basketball World Cup was just held at the stadium where that happened, where the Thriller happened. And there's a big banner, Thriller in Manila. So Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali.
And I got to grow up with Joe Frazier's his son Marvis and Jack Judge in Philadelphia, and it was just a great. That time in high school was an unbelievable time for all of us. Evelyn Champagne King, the singer, lived in that neighborhood. Phyllis Hyman lived there. Kenny Gamble and Philadelphia Sound was pretty big, and we saw these people every single day.
Mm-hmm. Wow, man, those are people we would have loved to see, and then of course we still listen to Evelyn Champagne King.
Yes.
Nowadays, it's a shame, right?
Yes.
So, so there you go. But then there you are, you're dancing on that court, and obviously there, you were playing very well. You mentioned top team in the country, and then you were winning, and you were an All-American in high school, and all of that. The scouts, I'm sure, were coming, from the universities and the colleges where we're checking you out there at West Philadelphia. How did you find yourself? Why didn't you stay local? Why did you move over to North Carolina? I mean,
it's really interesting. It was kind of crazy. Once you become the number one player in the country, everybody wants you. There was the recruiting thing was something you can write a book about. There was all kind of things thrown at you. People leaving money in the trash can and shoe boxes. Guys sleeping in their cars. I mean, it was crazy. One time I couldn't even stay home for a week or two. And the thing was, Philadelphia had me. University of Pennsylvania, I would have went to University of Pennsylvania if I told the story. And the story is, the reason why I didn't go to University of Pennsylvania was because the Ivy League conference did not allow freshmen to play varsity basketball. They were, back in the day, you had Art Heyman at Duke and Charlie Scott at Carolina and David Thompson, those guys. Even Bill Walton had to play on the freshman team. But they changed the rules they didn't change the rules until after I left and went to Duke. And I was told that was one of the reasons why they changed the rule for the Ivy League. So that happened to change me from staying home. The pressure was to stay home. Villanova was one of the top in there. They had Riley Massimino at the time, and they had a great family unit. But something was instilled in me from my high school English teacher, Dr. William H. Detweiler, of being able to go talk, because I knew nothing about Duke. I didn't know Duke even existed. I had to pick 6 schools, and the 6 schools that I picked, I saw them on national television. You got to remember, ABC and CBS with Al McGuire were showing the NCAA champion playoffs, and I saw Notre Dame, I saw Michigan, I saw Carolina, I saw NC State, and I saw UCLA. And those were the top 5 that I picked that I was going to go to visit. And I had one more left because back then they only allowed recruits to visit 6 schools that were paid for. And my English teacher kept saying, he was never about basketball. It was all about academics. He kept saying to me, you got to go to Duke University. You got to see it, the architecture. Blah, 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 blah. It was just a mess. And just to get him off my back, he was tutoring me. I said, okay, I'll go. And I chose to go to Duke, and I went to visit. And quite naturally, if you're the number 1 player, they're going to roll the red carpet out. And I saw a school, small school, and it was beautiful. There's no doubt. And they had a group of African Americans that were there that I kind of get attuned to. And I just said to myself, I can come here and make this team a national power. Now, I'm not Ralph Sampson, and I'm not Patrick Ewing or Keem Olajuwon, that I'm a big aircraft carrier type of guy. But I knew with the teaching of Joe Goldenberg, my high school coach, who was so instrumental in my career, in my life, molding me, I knew I can take that winning attitude to Duke and make them a national power.
But what was the pitch of Bill Foster to you when he spoke to you?
It's interesting. Bill was the funniest out of all the coaches. He was like a Johnny Carson type funny guy, and he was really weird, funny. I couldn't. He made me think all the time to the fact that who is this guy? I remember he came to watch me play in the Barbarian League, which is the suburban league, and all these coaches were there, and they spoke. They weren't really supposed to speak to you, but they spoke. And he walked out and left, walked right past me. And this was just the beginning stages. And I said to him, I says, I went back to my mom. I said, Mom, all these coaches were there. Some of them spoke, but that coach from Duke walked right past, didn't say anything. So eventually a call was made, and they put him on the phone. And serious voice, he says, I said, Coach, I said, you were at the game. I didn't see that you spoke to me. And he said, well, I watched you play, and I really don't think you're good enough to play for us. And he hung the phone up. He hung the phone up. And I'm in the kitchen with my mom. I said, are you serious? I mean, the guy from Duke hung the phone up on me. So the assistant coach, Bob Winslow, called back, and he was like, he was anxiety filled. Says, no, you got to understand, coaches. He was just kidding. He was just playing around. I said, I can't believe he did that. So that really caught my attention about him, that he would do whimsical things like that.
That's kind of crazy, actually, if you think about it. But he did get your attention, that's for sure. This photo on the left, this is from high school still, right?
Listen, that is an unbelievable how you found that. Look at the players on this, and then people that are watching this too. Look at the players on that. The far left, number 8, is Howard McNeil. Howard McNeil was considered one of the greatest talents coming out. Went to Abington High School. That was Howard McNeil. Then next to me, number 4, that's me. And and then Lewis Lord is right next to me after that.
Right.
And right next to Lewis Lord is Michael Brooks.
Michael Brooks is. From LaSalle, yeah.
Yep. And then also on the floor is number 14 is Keith Parham. He's passed away, was a great player, played at Temple. Then Michael Blackshear, who played over Brook, was a great player. And then right there is also Jeffrey Clark, number 3. Jeffrey Clark now is one of the top NCAA referees for basketball.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And if you look further, he can't see him much. He looks like a white kid. That white kid is Fran McCaffrey, the coach of Iowa.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. We call Fran McCaffrey. He was like Pete Maravich. If you look at him now, he looks like a banker. But when he played, he had all the Pete Maravich dribble. He was a great ball handler, great passer, an awesome player. So that was the Sunny Hill League All-Star team right there. Okay. And we went on to play against New York and Ohio, and we beat everybody.
Yeah, I was wondering why the uniforms didn't match. So it turns out it was like a selection.
Yep, there was a selection from the league, the best players in the league, and they took this picture. And then we went on to play against New York, we played against Jersey, we played against Ohio. It was that team right there. You got to look at it. Lewis Lloyd played for the Houston Rockets. Michael Brooks played for the Clippers. Keith Parham played at Temple. Jeffrey Clark played at St. Joe's. Fran McCaffrey, you see his history. And that was just that team right there was the most powerful, strongest team in the nation.
Mhm. And you were being used, Gene, as a forward. You were always a forward. You were never
Yeah, I
used
was
as a
never really a
center.
center. I was always a forward, switch between power and small forward. So I could do pretty much a lot of things, bring the ball up the court and things like that. I saw the floor, and I just always wanted to make the other players better, and make them stronger. It's all about winning. It was never about me trying to get points. It was whatever it needs to do to win, and that's what it was all about.
Right, Sid.
Yeah, no, I was wondering. You mentioned you also played against a team from New York. I was wondering, because New York is also a hotbed of basketball talent.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
who did you play against?
Albert
That New York
King.
team.
Albert
Albert
King was
King.
one of the. He was you just say Albert King and that's it.
Yep. He
Albert
wasn't Bernard's younger brother. He was Albert King, right?
He was Albert King, and I know
Yeah.
his high school team. My senior year had a game. Fort Hamilton had a game in Philly, and we were going to play a game up in Pittsburgh. And my coach sent the team up early, and my coach and I sat and watched this game. It was played at Drexel University. We stayed an extra day to watch Albert King play, and I've never seen a more beautiful player do everything. He's bringing the ball up like Magic Johnson. He's shooting. I mean, he was poetry in motion, and I fell in love with this guy from that. And I met him. That was the first time we met. We met backstage. I have a picture of that we keep, and we finally met. And I said, "Man, you're the most poetic, beautiful player I've seen." He says, "No," he said, "You're the Tinkerbell." He said, "You're the best. You are the best." So we've talked last week. We still stay in touch.
Wow, that was mutual admiration. But since you mentioned it already, so as early as that, they were calling you Tinkerbell. How did that come about?
It's really interesting. It's a name that, believe me, I was not picking for me. Okay,
Yeah. I'm sure of that.
My cousin Theodore, he was known throughout Philadelphia giving guys nicknames. So he was trying to find a nickname for me. Gene Banks Magnum Force, Gene Banks the Power, and he came to my high school and we had a fire drill. He went to Arlington High School, and he came to my high school, and instead of me going back into the school, we went downtown. And back in those days, you had truant officers in white cars, and if you got caught, you can be in serious trouble. So we ducked into a movie theater. We're sitting in the movie, hiding out, watching this, and then this Peter Pan thing came up. And he was sitting there, and he's going, "Yeah, that's what we're going to call you." And I'm going, "Okay." I'm looking up there. There's a guy in tights, which is Peter Pan. And then there's a guy with a hook, Captain Hook. And I says, "Which one of those?" He says, "That's what I'm going to call you, Tinkerbell." And I looked at him, and I says, "You are out of your freaking mind." I said, "Don't you dare think about that." He says, No, you gotta understand. You see how she flies? That's how you fly in the air. You see the charisma and the magic? That's the magic you have with all the people, blah, blah, blah. He said, "The Tinkerbell." And I said, "If you ever think about having that being come out of this movie theater, I will kill you halfway and then again." So 2 days later, I had a championship game. Teddy was at the game. Apparently, he went around and had people saying when I shot the basket, "Tinkerbell." I heard it, but I didn't hear it. I had a great game on a team with Tim Smith and Mark Dwight, Wilbur Lolbrick, and Calvin Goodwin. We won the city championship against that team called Father Judd. But that was my sophomore year. I was only averaging 15 points, but I had this great game, 24 points, 20 rebounds. And the next day in the paper, in the front page, not the sports, but the front page just said, and on there's another bell in Philadelphia, the Tinkerbell. And Teddy had come in the door because he loved to eat. My mom always cooked, and I grabbed him by his collar, and we took him outside. And I was pissed. And we were walking around the corner. I'm giving them to him. I said, "Now you see what happened. This is the name. I'm 6-something years. Tinkerbell, are you serious?" Blah 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 blah. So these kids were playing in Huey schoolyard. 2 kids were playing while I'm barraging them and giving them a hard time. This one kid goes, "Well, I'm going to make this move, this flip move, like Sweet Lou." They call Lou Black Jesus, Sweet Lou. And then this other kid, while I'm still barraging, he goes, "Well, I'm going to take this back and fade away like the Tinkerbell." And we both turned and looked and said, and he looked at me and went, and I watched these, this was 2 days. I watched this happen and materialize in front of me. And then also I went back, and next thing I know, I embraced it. And now, and Teddy said, "You see what I'm saying? You got to remember, you got Bruce Wayne, Batman. You got Clark Kent, Superman." And he said, "Now you got Gene Banks, Tinkerbell.
Tinkerbell.
So
Well, if you're talking about nicknames, of course, that really fit. I mean, nobody would have ever given you that
No.
except that fellow. So
I would not have picked it, but then I embraced it. I had a pregame ritual that gets me whatever. And then my best friend Mel Parker, we had this saying, float like my man Muhammad Ali, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. The Tinkerbell is like the cream of the crop, and like the cream, it always comes to the top. And we always had that. And
you were rhyming back then, huh?
It was unbelievable. Well, I wasn't rhyming. That was Mel. But it was so. The thing that's still intriguing to me today, no one said anything like cracked about it. No one. I mean, I would have cracked about it. This is guy's Tinkerbell. But no one calls me by Gene Banks. It's Tink or Tinker, no matter where I go. And then it carried on down to Duke. And the world, I mean, there's books written about it and all kind of stuff. And it's it's the Tinkerbell.
Well, it's a story in itself, of course. But we're looking at you here. This is the transition. So you played like as an all-star in high school. You make it to Duke. You told us our story, how you ended up over there.
Mm-hmm.
So there you are. You're dunking that ball at number 20. Did they assign the number 20 to you? Did you choose that jersey number?
Here's the thing. I've had the number throughout my life. And the story behind the number 20 is my grandfather, Clifford G. Clark. My grandfather played in Mobile, Alabama in the Negro League, the Black Negro Leagues. And one day I went down when I was staying with him. One day I went down to base. He had this old trunk. And I opened up the trunk, and he had they wore those wool jerseys, those sketchy, itchy jerseys, and it was the number 20. And I was always trying to find number 7, this, that, and the other. But when I saw that, something just said, "This is the number you're going to take." So I've had that number throughout. I've never had another number throughout my career, and in honor of my grandfather, Clifford G. Clark.
And that's really funny because not too many people wear the number 20, so it's pretty easy to get it, I guess. You're not fighting with anyone.
I guess, but it's in honor of my grandfather. I didn't even know it. I wore it. I picked the number. I knew it was him, and I was happy that I wore it. It's like a kid wearing his father's number who's playing. So my grandfather was that was the number for my grandfather when he played in the Negro League baseball.
Yeah, well,
What was it like transitioning to Duke as a freshman? Not just on the court, but the campus itself. It's a rather small campus, right? Compared to a.
Well, they have like 2 campuses, but listen, all the fanfare. I mean, it was being a number 1 player, being from Philadelphia. I got a lot of attention. I was hailed in so many ways in certain situations, and so when I go to Duke, I was hailed as like a messiah type of thing, and I knew how to deal with attention. Coach Goldenberg and Mr. William H. Detweiler schooled me on how to speak. Being able to talk and not say, Mr. Detweiler go, you can't be saying all the time. So he would always get. They schooled me on it, and I did a lot of appearances. So going there, I was prepared for it, especially basketball wise. But it was still a big transition. I mean, Duke is a highly academic school.
Right.
And I was prepared for that. I was on the honor roll at West Philadelphia High School. I was at one time I was the vice president under Don Watkins, my teammate who was the president who just passed a couple of weeks ago. I want to give honor to him. But I had a great village. My mother and father, and they were divorced, so to speak, but I had a great relationship with both of them. And what was so interesting, my grandfather was instrumental. A lot of people that were in Philadelphia, as you may well know, Philadelphia, Mel Parker was instrumental, and my Sonny Hill was major influence. Sonny Hill, if you know who Sonny Hill is, you go back. He was on CBS at one time with Brett Musburger, and so we had the Sonny Hill League that was there. So he was very, very instrumental. Hildebrand Pelzer was one of the guys that raised me up. Bill Baggett, Mo Howard. I don't know if you know who Mo Howard is. Mo Howard played at the University of Maryland and then played for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it was such a different time. There was no AAU. There was no AAU then at that time. We had the Hill Baker League, and that's what molded me and filled me and built me up. And I had a spiritual background. My mom was raised in the Pentecostal church, so we had a church in our basement. Said at one time. I give lot of love and credit to my mom, who's departed in 2008, of raising me and doing that and allowing me to be free. The thing is, they allow me to have expression, and that's what Bill Foster did for me going forward to Duke, was allow me to still have expression, because I can. Who doesn't like attention?
Yeah. Well, okay. Your friend, Andy Fields.
Andrew
Yeah.
Field, yeah. Hey, listen, you guys got to see him. I saw him when he was back in the city. He was a beast. He was a beast, and this amazing guy, good, unbelievable player. He made other players better around him. That was a good thing. But he was a beast, and he was one of the guys from Philly. He's straight up Philly guy. He represented us wherever he went, and I know he did it down in the Philippines. And I give Andrew's awesome guy.
Right. And thanks for watching, Andrew. You know, I had to remind him that you were on the show, and there he is commenting already.
And, he's watching the show. Yeah,
those are the comments that he's watching right now. But
I also saw a comment on Facebook that he said he's going to get knee replacement surgery soon. So good luck with that, Andrew. On your surgery.
Good luck, brother. Well. Good luck.
Hope that all works out. Right, so there you are. There, you're being grabbed. They had to grab Gene Banks. That's how good he was. They had to hold him down and look at him screaming up. But that says that they are the ACC champs. At that time, you were always all-conference team for your 4 years, whether first or second team. You had some great players on that Duke squad. You know, you had Jim Spanarkel, you had Mike Jaminski, who I always thought was a great player. I mean, if you're looking at statistics-wise, you know, he's up there as well as far as Duke players are concerned. He was averaging 20 and 10. So you had these guys ahead of you. You had some guys a bit. Was Kenny Dennard your batch, or was he a lower batch than you?
Well, here's when before I got to Duke, Mike Jaminski and Spanarkel were there. They were there a year before I got there. Mike, without a doubt, let's give credit where credit is due. He was a big aircraft carrier, an amazing player. Jim Spanarkel was the captain, and his basketball IQ was just off the chain, off the roof. Just an amazing guy. We had a unique team, and when I came in, I didn't really know these guys. You know, I didn't know anything about. All I knew that Duke was in last place 4 years in a row. They had a guy named Tate Armstrong that was there the year before I got there. He was a golden, played on the Olympic team. But as far as the team, you know, when I mentioned I was going to Duke, everybody in Philadelphia says, "Does Duke even have a basketball team?" You know, they thought something was wrong with me. They really did. You going to Duke? The team is in last place. They've been horrible. It was crazy, but you know, it wasn't my decision, and I'm saying this for people that are out there looking and listening. It was divine intervention. I decided. I was able to come back home. I told my mom, I really don't know where I want to go. All the schools I'm visiting, these schools, they're beautiful, they're wonderful. I'm a 17-year-old kid. You know, they laying the red carpet out for me. You know, NC State was great. Carolina was great to visit. I didn't even visit Notre Dame and Michigan because I was burnt out. UCLA had me. I would have went to UCLA. But I told my mom, I said, really, Mom, I really don't know where to go. And she says, listen, you go in your room and I want you to lay down. I want you to pray about it. That's exactly what she said. And she closed the door and she locked my door. It had this old skeleton key. We had those kind of doors. And I went in there, I put my music on. I was a Barry White guy. I love Barry White, you know, trying to get the lines to talk to the girls kind of thing.
You have the voice for it.
So I'm laying down, I closed my eyes, and I dreamt of wearing a Duke uniform. And I dreamt about traveling, and it was like a dream. And next morning I woke up to myself and I said, Mom, you know what? You always taught us. She also believed in visions and believed when something's speaking in your ear, that was God talking to you. I said, I know where to go. She didn't even ask me where I chose. She said, let me call the school and we'll let them know. School said, don't come up, no, because the world wants to know, and we'll set it all up. And I decided to call Julius Thompson, give a guy from the Bulletin the scoop, and make this decision and let him know. And then my mom and I, West Philly was only 4 blocks from my house. And we walked up, and I'm walking up here. I'm going to make a man's decision, and I'm scared, you know, because it was just a proliferation of so much, you know. UCLA, they had me if they wanted me because, you know, I got a chance to go to Hugh Hefner's mansion. So I'm not going to talk about that.
We should talk about it some other time, right? Okay.
You know, if they had the letter of intent, listen, I would have signed it right then and there.
Yeah.
So,
What a
that
great
was-
recruiting tool, huh?
Oh my! Believe me. Oh, they had me. But anyway, so 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 I'm walking up to school, like my mom's taking me to it's like she's taking me to kindergarten, and I was really scared. And as I'm walking, she's walking next to me, and she's proud, and I'm walking because we didn't want to. We didn't have. My stepdad had the car, and we're walking, and I was scared, and she put her hand, and I put my hand in her hand, and she grabbed it, and we're walking, and I was not afraid anymore. And she said, "Whatever you're going to do, God's got you, and there's a reason why you're going to do what you're going to do." And I went into the press conference, and I told these people, I says, "It's not about what I can do for Duke, it's what Duke can do for me, and I'm definitely going to make them a national power, and I'm going to Duke." And everybody's like, "You gotta be out of your mind." And the news report, you got to remember back in those days, reporters got to try to get the scoops. So a lot of news reporters jumped up to go find a phone. That was that kind of era. Because they didn't have the cell phones to let them know this is where he's chosen. And everybody's mouth kind of dropped. I didn't tell anybody what I was going to do on that. So, but here's the thing. The ironic thing of it is that everything that I dreamt about in that dream, people might think I'm making this up, but no. Everything I dreamt about happened my first year. We went all the way to the championship.
Right.
What was Duke like the fandom, because this was right before Coach K
Before the Crazies,
came around.
before the Cameron
before
Crazies, yeah.
Cameron Crazies.
The Cameron Crazies started back then. They don't really talk about. I mean, they were very supportive back before I even got there too. They had the students were always from the 70s on up, but the frenzy got crazy when I got there. I'm not saying I created it, but I created the enthusiasm to make it like it is now, and it was so crazy. The students. That's a crazy place to play. I'm gonna tell you right now. I am so happy. I'm so happy that I played for them and not against the Cameron Craze. The energy was just it's so vibrant. Even now, as you see it on TV now, the energy was something nowhere else. And I fed off that energy. The Tinkerbell thing fed off that energy, and it was just amazing to play in that stadium. And here's a fact: the Palestra and Cameron Indoor Stadium are the same exact design building.
Okay.
Same exact design, everything. And the guy that designed the Palestra designed Cameron Indoor Stadium, Adelaide.
Okay.
So there's a connection. He went to University of Penn. He was with the Tannenbaum Group. So I'm giving you a little history that both of those stadiums were designed by the same guy, and he was a black guy.
Okay.
That's powerful.
And so you were familiar with the environment. I mean, you look the same.
I was familiar a little bit with the stadium, so that was pretty. The inside seating is different, but I was familiar with it. But I enjoyed it. A lot of attention was placed on me, and I welcomed it. So I wasn't afraid of it. I took it all in, and that's how it all started. It was bringing that spirit to Duke, and here we go. Now we're on national television. I'm on every magazine. I'm on. I mean, it was. I was used to that being in high school, though. I was used to that being in high school, but this was on another scale, and
of course,
it just blew up. And but I kind of knew this. I didn't think it was going to happen my first year. I kind of felt and believed in it. I just really put the faith in God. I mean, God, Jehovah, that whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I didn't think about it. I said, and he stood by me. He just stayed. I give all honor for my career, period, to God Jehovah for everything he did for me, because he laid it out. I just actually did something and listened to God. You don't listen all the time, but I actually did something, just listen and just did it. So all praises of everything that happened. You can see the pictures of the trophy. That was all God's doing, and I'm just so grateful and blessings to God for doing that for me.
Because you mentioned losing seasons before you came in, and suddenly you're a 20-win team for 3 seasons in a row. You go 27-7. You're the rookie of the year. You're averaging almost 18 points, 9 boards a game. with two other All-Americans on that team. So it was great, but it hardly ever happens, Gene. Now, it hardly ever happens now that somebody as good as you were playing stays for 4 years, right? Back
Yeah,
then it was normal.
it was interesting. I got tempted to, well, not, I didn't get tempted, but it was little things said out there that, I could have left after my freshman year, and I could have left after my my junior year before Coach K came in. That part, I just played with it. When you go to college and the atmosphere that I had at Duke, and that the spirit, it was just so amazing. Why would you leave that? And I'm still a kid. I mean, I've never really looked at the NBA until I had to look at the NBA. I kept that in this spot and kept it in this place, and I had a great time being in Durham and connecting with the communities and bringing the Black community together with Duke. I was bringing people from Durham over there. They're going, Gina, they can't bring all these people over here. So, but I was the chosen, I guess, the chosen one. I had a little bit of clout and power. I knew it, but I didn't flaunt it. And they realized that these Black folks, the only people that were coming over to Duke were people that worked there. And some students, but other than that, it wasn't as far as inclusion and all that. It wasn't, and I would say I've changed it, but it was just my natural bringing people over, and they realized that the kids, the students, tore up Duke more than anybody outside of tore Duke up. So that's what I'm very proud of, that I was able to bring the Durham community together with Duke, as far as because everybody there liked NC State and Carolina.
Yeah. In your third year, Gene, 1979, was that right?
Yes.
You guys had a skinny recruit named Chip England, right?
Yeah, the Chipper.
Yeah. He was just here a couple of weeks ago with Team USA, and you probably know he also played in the Philippines as a naturalized player. But when you first saw him, what was your first impression of him?
A skinny kid from California.
Exactly what he was, right?
He was a skinny kid from California. They said he was a shooter, and boy, he could light it up. And I think Chip would have been, he was already an amazing shooter, but if he'd have had the training that they do now with shooters, he's now taking that and doing a training. But amazing teammate, awesome guy. I mean, I love playing with him, having out there. I wish that Bill would have utilized him better than they did, because he hit a lot of good shots. But now he's considered a specialist, right now. But I love the Chipper. He's an amazing guy. I love him. Great teammate.
Yeah, and then when actually his career really took off after you had left Duke, that's when his stats went up. He was scoring in double digits already. He was averaging about 5 points a game while you were over there. But yeah, he was one of the greats here. People remember him. In fact, when he was in town, he was being mobbed all the time. The Filipinos were trying to get to him. But with U.S. team, it's pretty hard to get near the U.S. team.
Yeah.
So there's a whole.
It's well deserved. I mean, he's well deserved. He's been with Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs organization for so many years, and to go on and do that, and like I say, he was an amazing teammate, and also he was connected with the late Tommy Emma. Was another point guard from New York, and they were like two little buddies. They were like frickin' frack, always keeping people stay doing all kind of crazy little stuff. And I love seeing the two of them. And we miss Tommy Emma to his very day. And but Chip was just well deserved, awesome guy.
Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned, because you did play 3 years under Bill Foster, and then Mike Krzyzewski comes in your senior year. It's like a transition year for Duke, and I guess for you as well. How was Mike Krzyzewski as a first-year coach at Duke?
Well, here's the thing. We knew nothing about Tom Butters didn't talk to me. Kenny Denard and myself, and also Vince Taylor. That's another great player from Duke. They didn't tell us or share anything ask us nothing. We knew nothing about nothing. The only thing I knew that was a guy at Iowa named Dr. Tom Davis, that had some type of interest. But I went home. I think it was spring break. I went home. Kenny went down to Florida to the Keys. He was laying out on a boat out there in wherever in the Atlantic Ocean. I was home at home, and we took an extra week to stay home because we didn't know anything about it. Then we come to find out, it's on the news in Philadelphia, Duke has a new coach, Mike, and they couldn't pronounce his name.
Yep, yep.
And my mom's in the kitchen. She goes, "Oh wow," I go, "Yeah, oh wow." I didn't know nothing about it. So the press conference goes on, and they thought Kenny and I were boycotting. We knew nothing about it. We didn't, they didn't share nothing with us about it. And then Coach called us and told us, "We want you to come on back." And our first impression of meeting him, Kenny and I were sitting in his office. He looked so young. He looked so young. And he cracked a joke on us, and he broke the ice because he said, "You guys been here," and he says, "We got to be men." And he said, "There's a line that you don't cross." He said, you get to a certain level and the line you cross. He said, "But the two of you guys have crapped, pissed. It was like on this line. So we're going to bring you back." And it was so funny that he said that because it was a joke. But everybody was spoiling us, and some things got a little out of control as far as getting some culture. But our culture was fine. But it was just that they just felt that Kenny and I could do everything we wanted to, and he was basically saying we got to be accountable, being men. And that speech alone itself showed what kind of person, because he came from Army, and he was setting up the concepts of what it was, and he's the one who designed the new jerseys. He changed the jerseys. When they were, Coach Carone doesn't get credit for that, but he changed the jerseys, and he showed us that he was going to change them. But I was impressed with him. I've never fought against any authoritarian as my coach, so I had a lot of respect for him. And he said this to Kenny and I, myself, and Vince. He said he didn't really know how to coach elite players when he first got there. It was all team and all, but we were elite players. I'm all ACC and this, but we didn't have any recruits come in. We had one guy that they brought in called Doug McNeely. Doug was a decent player, but we didn't have no other recruits come in. We had no center. We had Mike Tissall, who had been there with us. Tissall was awesome. I loved Tissall because he knew he was limited, but he gave all he could give, and he was powerful and strong, but he was limited. But we did what we had. We dealt with what we had, and I saw his great coaching ability. He's a great motivator, great with X's and O's, but he knows how to talk to players and deal with them. But it was his first year, so he was trying to figure it all out.
Right.
We're going through the transition, trying to deal with it. But he would not play his own. We were small, and he would not play his own, and we were confused about that because we're going against guys like Ralph Sampson. Ralph Sampson 7'3". Yeah. Sam Perkins. He's 7 feet. So, but we played. He stuck by his principle. He stuck by his concepts, and it made me a better player getting ready to go into the pros. So I commend him for the time.
Yeah,
right. And of course, we know what happened after that. His career really just took off as the years went on. Right.
Well, he after I left, he had 2 or 3 years that were just, the Iron Dukes were trying to get rid of him.
Yeah.
They were vicious. They were vicious at him, but he maintained. And when I saw him one time, he said to me, he says, "Gene, they just have to stick. I have a plan, and we have to stick by it, and we're going to be okay." And I believed them. I believed them, and there were Orange Dukes calling me. So we got to get rid of this guy. I'm like, stop! Don't call me. I don't get involved in that stuff. So, but you saw what happened. He actually went down to the ground, to hell, and came back. And you got to understand that. How he became what he is.
Well, all credit also to the school for sticking with him, even though he had a couple of bad, a couple of bad seasons, right? You already mentioned Sam Perkins, so I wanted to ask you about the other thing about being a Duke player, your rivalry with North Carolina. What was your most memorable Duke Carolina game?
Oh, I think my freshman year was probably the most memorable. Was not the most memorable one, but it was the first one when we beat them at our place. Duke hadn't beaten Carolina in like maybe 6 or 7 years. I don't know the dynamics of it or the analytics of it, but and we were just starting out. We didn't know how good we were, but we were decent. We were starting out, and when we had that game at Duke, and we played them and we beat them at Duke, that was the signature of letting us know that we were really good. We were really good, and I saw in the weeks leading up to that game is just the anxiety of it with the students, with the people in the community. It's crazy. It was crazy. It's like that's one game you cannot lose. That's one game that everybody takes intrigue, and they felt they were going to beat us because they've been beating them. But this was a whole new whole new team, whole new situation, and to win that game, that was one. But the most memorable one is the one with Coach K my senior year, where I hit the shot and tied the game and hit the shot to win the game in overtime, and that was my last game in Cameron.
Mhm.
Oh,
Wow. Okay.
memorable.
Nice way to go out there. Who were their top players? Who were the top Carolina players at the time?
James Worthy, Sam
Mhm.
Perkins,
Yeah, not a
Al
bad bunch.
Wood, Al Wood. I mean, I think they were like 5th or 6th in the nation.
Uh-huh.
Jimmy Black, Matt Doherty.
Matt Doherty, yeah.
Yeah, they had a hell of a crew. But the thing is, you can just take the records out the window. And when we played, it was vicious. A lot of trash talking, a lot of physicality. We didn't really we didn't connect with each other. I never went over there. I went over there. I went over there one time and they gave me drama. And I said, I'm not coming over anymore. I can't deal with all this light blue stuff that's happening here. So you build up a dislike, and they had a dislike towards us, especially when they realized we were here. So, but I got great friends with Phil Ford and Al Wood and those guys. We're friends to this very day. So there's a lot of respect.
That's right. But of course, because of that great career you had against all those great teams, and then you're an All-American putting up all those numbers. The scouts from the NBA now, it's NBA scouts looking at you. And then the draft is coming up because you're about to finish your career in college, and then eventually you get picked in the second round. The Spurs get you. Did you know that you were going to get picked by that team?
No. I was projected to go 4th or 5th pick in the draft. You got to remember, we also played the NIT right after the Carolina game. I did have another game. We went into the NIT tournament, so we had a game against North Carolina A&T. And in this game, I went up to block a shot. I landed and I broke my left wrist in half. I snapped it. So, I snapped it. Coach K, I wanted to play. Coach K said, "No, you're not going to play." And I have surgery. I broke the navicular bone in my wrist. I had surgery, and now I got a cast on for several months before the draft. So I fell from being maybe a 4th or 5th pick to all the way down to 28th pick. Right. And I'm looking at the draft. I didn't go to New York or nothing like that. I'm at home, and some of the teams flew me out to take a look at they took the cast off as it came near to the draft. I think I flew to Indiana, I flew to Cleveland, and I flew to the Lakers. And guess who picked me up at the airport to take me to see the doctor? Pat Riley.
Nice. Wow. Okay.
Pat Riley was the assistant coach with the Lakers then. Yeah. He
right.
picked me up and took me. So they did a scan of my wrist and all. So then when the draft comes up, I'm looking at all these guys I played against in the ACC that I kind of bested, and all these other guys going before me, and my heart was broken. It was torn. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about the fact of my wrist, and then the San Antonio Spurs had the first pick in the second round, which was the 28th pick, and they picked me up, and my head was down. I was sad, but then I got on the phone. Bob Bass got on the phone, and you heard these people cheering in the background. It was like you were at a stadium. And Bob said to me, he says, "We are the luckiest team in the draft. We got a first rounder in the second round, and you're going to love playing here." Now, mind you, that's a team called the San Antonio Spurs with the great Georgia Iceman Gervin.
That's right.
And the Bruce brothers, and they were just amazing. And that was probably really the best place for me to go. I went there and worked hard and came off the bench. And then the situation fast forwarded. They traded Mark Oberding to Chicago, and a spot opened up. I was third on the depth chart. Paul Griffin, Kevin Rustani, and Ed Raines were ahead of me for that final spot. Then we went and got Artis Gilmore. They traded for Artis Gilmore, brought him in from Chicago, the great Artis Gilmore. And then Mike Mitchell, who was an all-star with the Cleveland Cavaliers, traded for him, got him. Johnny Moore was leading the league in assists. Ice was leading the league in scoring. And now there's a spot open. I'm like fourth on the depth chart. But I worked hard and I busted my butt because I can play inside, but I can also run, I can score, and I beat these guys out for that spot. And I remember Stan Allback take me in the locker room, grabs me by my throat and goes, I'm taking a chance on you, and don't you make me into a liar. Because Mike Mitchell and I are both 6'7", 6'8". We're both the same height. But Artis Gilmore being 7'2", and I knew how to play defense. I knew how to do it. So I played my role for what it was, and when I got that spot, I never let it go.
You put up great numbers. You're playing with a bunch of one of some of the greats in San Antonio history, of course, George Gervin, one of the best there ever was. There you are on the picture on the left. That's Albert King.
Yeah, that's Albert King.
We talked about him earlier. There you are. He's guarding you. Of course, you got Kareem on the other side. I don't know what he's going to do. Did he block your shot?
I passed it off.
You did the right thing, right? You want to get blocked. You got to pass that off when Kareem's in front of you.
Yeah, I caught Kareem a couple of times with dunks, and he looked at Kareem was always just quiet and mean looking. He never held conversations. But I remember one time he patted me on the back going back. I looked back, he looked at me, he nodded his head. That was enough approval for me. But no, he appreciated it. But you got to remember that team. They talk about the Lakers were going on to play Boston and all that. We played them in the Western Conference Championship back to back.
That's right.
So we were one of the top 5 teams, 4 or 5 in back to back, going down to the wire every year. Iceman was leading the league in scoring. Johnny Moore led the league in assists. Artis Gilmore led the league in field goal percentage. Mike Mitchell was an all-star. I was 5th in the league in field goal percentage. We had a hell of a team. We were just so far south that they didn't show the games.
That was a 53 game winner, 53-29 in that 1982 season.
Yeah, we would have won even more, except for we started resting guys. I mean, that was an amazing year, amazing season. I mean, it was. I was so blessed to be a part of that team, and like I said, God was with me. He stuck. I worked my butt off. People they never see me work out, but during the summer times, I would take a month off and not do anything when it comes to basketball. But then when I got into it, I did a lot of backward training in the fields and the grounds, like boot camp type of thing.
I know you had some teammates. You mentioned the Bruce brothers. These guys were physical guys who would really bump you and all of that. But who was the first NBA veteran when you were a rookie who kind of tried to test you with some physicality?
Holy craps. Maurice Lucas. Remember him from Portland?
Yep.
Lonnie Shelton from the Seattle Supersonics.
Yeah.
Man, listen, and I wasn't 6'10", 6'8". I had to bang with them guys down there, man. It was they'll look at you and they can scare you by looking at you. That's how strong those guys were.
Yeah, Maurice Lucas, for sure. And Lonnie Shelton's so big, he's so wide.
But you have to, when you're down there, you have to make a decision. You're either going to be in here and you're going to bang, or you don't go down in there. You're going to get your jaw cracked. You're going to get beat up. But if you're down there, you bang. So I got trained by playing up in Philadelphia with guys back in Philly. The old heads, they trained me. T. Shields, Claude Gross. Those guys. They used to bang and go at it. Gilbert Saunders. They taught me how to take that physicality and use it to my advantage. And once the ball went up and I banged, I ran like a deer, and they couldn't catch me. They couldn't stay up with me. If you watch the 44-point game, and then if you watch when I was with the Bulls, I can bang and hang, play defense.
Yeah.
But then when the ball went up, I took off, and that was tough for them to keep up with that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I was just wondering, what was it like being a teammate of the great Iceman, George Gervin? Just how
amazing.
good was he as a scorer?
I am the luckiest guy. I'm one of the luckiest NBA players in the world. I got to play with a teammate, George Iceman Gervin. It was like, we sold out arenas because they wanted to see the Iceman score and play like he played. He made it look so easy, so effortlessly, and he was a brother to me. Ice wasn't he didn't have a lot of words, but when he said things to me, it always hit. He said the right things when I need to say to me. And the wonderful thing about it was he took me in like a brother. I mean, he really took me in like a little brother. Before I scored the 44 points, I went to his room, and Ice always has an entourage. When he comes, it's an entourage throughout the place, and he put everybody out. And I said, Ice, I'm just so Stan is always yelling and da 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 da. He's always on me. And he says, yo, young fellow, when you was in high school with the Speed Boys, what did you do? You score. He said, when you was at Duke, you led the ACC in scoring. What did you do? You score. So he said in the NBA, that's what you got to do. You score. He said, my best defense is my offense. I'm sitting there, he's giving me, I'm at the edge of his bed, and he's sitting up there giving me his answer. So what are you going to do tomorrow? You're going to score. And I go out the next day, just him taking that little bit, that time like he did, I go out the next day, I'm scoring 44 points, my career high against the Lakers. He said, let it free. He said, let it free. Let it be flow. Play your game and let it flow. And don't be afraid to do what you do. And that's what happened. He was the reason why I scored pretty much that 44-point game. I could have had 50, but I was on fire.
That's a great anecdote, huh?
Yeah, of course. And I can actually imagine George Gervin saying that, because we've seen interviews, we know how he talks and all that. And
he's got a unique way of he says words, that. And and then I get traded to Chicago, and I play against one of the greatest players of all time. That's amazing.
I think we have a photo. What's the next photo?
Yeah, what's the next photo for this set?
Of the greatest of all time. There it is. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Well, this is you're playing against him.
Yeah.
You're playing against him, of course. Yeah.
How this is so ironic of this picture, because the year before I go to get traded to them, I got to guard him. I'm a power forward. Nobody else wanted to guard him.
He was that good already. Yeah, that was his like a rookie year. Yeah.
So they said, Gino, you play good defense. You're gonna play him. I go, okay, whatever, And man, he gave me headaches, but I physically out with him. But it was to see that photo and to play against him, and then the following year I'm on the same team with him. It's crazy.
Well, and of course, you wanted to stop him. Aside from the fact he was a damn great player, he's also from North Carolina, so you wanted to as a Duke guy, you wanted to stop this guy.
Well, I didn't get caught up in it. He was more caught up with the Duke Carolina stuff. He was really weird with that. I didn't get too caught up in it too much, but I had enough to worry about the fact that I had to guard him, and he was quick. I knew how to play defense, but he's quick. He had a lot of arsenal of things, and here I am. I'm like, why don't y'all have this other? You got guards. I'm the forward. I'm not supposed to be guarding, but I never questioned guarding anybody, but. It was a long night. It was.
Okay, can you tell us too? Like,
he didn't score 30. He didn't destroy me and dunk on me, but it was a long night.
Yeah, but by this time you're in the league about 4 years, so more or less who are the guys that gave you the toughest times? Like when you'd be facing this guy, you're like, oh come on, it's gonna be a tough day today.
Bottom line, Bernard King. Bernard King
one of my favorites. Yeah.
Bernard King was. He scored 50 on me. I've had that happen to me 3 times. Kiki Vandeweghe scored 50 on me one time, and Purvis Short scored 57.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, so that was against you. Okay, that was his career high.
Well, here's the thing: we were a fast-paced team. I was pretty much the one when Purvis scored those points. Nobody was giving me help. Okay, so. They cracked jokes on me. So Purvis Short is going to come back the following week to play us. And all through practice, I was pissed off. I was like, you guys don't help out. I mean, this guy is scoring. I know he didn't score all that on me, but you guys, I said, that's okay. Watch and see what happens this time. I studied film. I worked out, getting ready for Purvis. Purvis comes back. He plays us in San Antonio. I made sure he scored 6 points. Okay? Boom. I get lax. We got Kiki Vandeweghe with Denver Nuggets. They had Alex English, Dan Issel, and Kiki Vandeweghe and Fats Lieber. They ran that flex offense all game. Kiki scores 50 points on me in Denver. And I'm going, oh, Lord have mercy. And the guys are cracking jokes against us. This is not funny. We're supposed to be a good defensive team. Well, we're supposed to be helping be defensive team. I said, okay, I got y'all. I was not helping nobody out. When Kiki went to go to the bathroom, I was standing right outside the bathroom. We finished with 7 points that game. Okay? Now, I get my atonement on both of those guys. Bernard comes in. The night before, he's in Dallas. He scores 50 points against the Mavericks.
Okay, yeah.
Friday night.
Yeah.
He's the first guy I've ever seen his back-to-back 50 points.
Back-to-back, right.
San Antonio. I got Bernard King. I've seen him play and so forth, but I never got a chance to play against him. Super quick, fast release, runs the break better than anybody in the league wide. He is serving. I mean, I'm even just missing blocking his shot, but he was just amazing. The things he could do, I couldn't do. He was the one guy I couldn't do anything with defensively.
And his game face, right? When
Always
he
had
had
a
that
game
game face.
Wouldn't speak, wouldn't say nothing to you. He had a game face, and that automatically almost kind of intimidates you. Like, he's not even smiling and nothing. I'm like, oh, it's going to be one of those nights. I didn't know he was going to score like that, but I never got the chance to. What I wanted more than anything else to have a chance to play him again. So I, watch more film on him. I know I played against him, and then I would have that atonement to go back at him. But we only played them twice a year, so I didn't get a chance to redeem myself with Bernard King. But he was the best. Him and Bird gave me. It was tough. Bird is all 6'9". He's big.
Yeah.
He's big, and he talks but he's good. But Bird and King were the two toughest for me.
Did Larry Bird ever tell you that he was going to do this and then exactly?
Oh yeah. You never see him. You never see him talking. The thing is, what you find, you never see him like yapping like on film, but he does it under his breath when you're running down a court with him, and he goes, You see this next play? I'm going to come off that pick and be in the corner. I'm going to bust your ass, shot you in your face. And you're running. You're going like, this guy's actually saying this to me, So you get all hyped up. Oh, yeah, I'm going to stop him. He comes off a pick from Paris. He comes off a pick from Miguel. I'm trying to get through these guys because they got the illegal hip picks. I finally get out, and he catches the ball. He's out there. He catches it. I'm trying to get through the pick from Miguel. He waits. He waves me over it, and I fly out there. He shoots it, bam. And he goes down the court. He says, I told you that, bitch. I was like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. But I got him one time where I timed then him and Dennis Johnson had a good – he'll pop out in the wing, and I kept timing this, watched the film, kept timing this. I finally timed it, and I stole the ball. And he's coming back to me. I'm going down the other end, and I dunk it in the garden. I grabbed the ball out the net, and he's still coming towards me, and I stuff it in his stomach, and I got him back. I said, take that. I've never called anybody. I said, take that. Do you know when I did that, the rest of the game, the Boston Garden, every time I touched the ball, they booed me. That is not a feeling you should ever have in a game. Just to make a pass, they booed me, and it was crazy. I was flustered, But I got him back, so I'm good. I'm good.
I love it. I love that story. I love that story.
Yeah, Sid. But just to let you know, Gene, Sid's a big Celtic and Larry Bird fan, so he's thrilled at that story for sure. I like it too, because Larry Bird, much respect for that guy, even if he is a Celtic. I'm a Laker fan. Well, so anyway,
I think I'm the one guy that held him to his lowest score. I think he had 7 or something like that. And it wasn't,
wow, okay.
And the news people go, oh, the Gene Banks hold you back, and and Larry Bird goes, Gene, please, come on. I wasn't feeling this way, and it's not that important. He says, but then he goes, I'm on the bed watching TV, the news, and he goes looking at the camera and says, be here tomorrow. Let's see what Gene Banks does tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my God, that's all I need. That's all I need. That's all I need for him, because he's in the gym shooting baskets. Like before the lights come on, we're coming in. He's out there on the court, a la Kobe Bryant type of thing, And I'm going, oh my God! I did not sleep well at all that night. I just did not. It was it was crazy.
There's your Larry Bird story. And Sid's still smiling. Okay, take a short break just to remind everybody we are part of the Globally Ballin Network, and you can watch and listen to us on Spotify. And if you enjoy our show, give us some love. Rate us with a 5-star rating on Spotify, please. And you can become our monthly supporter with the $4.99 or 250 pesos a month on Spotify, and we will recognize you in our future episodes, and we will love you and adore you forever if you help us out on that. And then like and follow the Globally Ballin Southeast Asia Facebook page for snippets of all the shows on the Globally Ballin Network. And back to Time Capsule, which is brought to us by Fitbit. We're reminding everyone it helps everyone in the world get healthier, from counting your steps to giving personalized insights on your heart rate and sleep patterns. Log your exercise, access great tools and content on the Fitbit Premium, all on the Fitbit platform. So check out the line of products of Fitbit on Fitbit.com. Feel the power we continue our time capsule with our next photo. And now here you go. You guys are now teammates. Right?
Yeah, we're and the funniest thing is that my wife and I, Isabel, my late wife, who I miss so much, and great, she's still with us with my legacy of my kids. We were in China, and we were over there with Dr. J, Leon Douglas, Terry Tyler. We were doing a Fellowship of Christian Athletes tour, helping with some clinics. And we're looking at the TV in this restaurant area there, and they go, Stan Alback gets the job for the Chicago Bulls, and I was really like, oh, that's great, because he went to New Jersey and did really well. And then he says, and also the first transaction that happened was Gene Banks. They traded for Gene Banks for San Antonio for Steve. They traded Steve Johnson and two second-round draft picks for Gene Banks. And I was going like, my wife and I looked at each other like, what? No one told my agent. No one told us anything. We're in China. We're where nobody calls us and tells us nothing. This is the world. So I wound up getting traded to Chicago. We go up there and move in, and they have David Greenwood. They have Quentin Daly, Orlando Woolridge, Rod Higgins, Dave Corzine. They had a plethora of guys, and which Stan cleaned out. And here I am. I'm with the Mike. It's the second year, and this is when he's really developing the shoes and the black. This is the second year he's got the red and black shoe. And, it was amazing, and he and I were very, very close. Not close like how him and Rod Higgins were. They were like brothers. And that was a year we drafted Charles Oakley.
Yeah.
Now when Oakley comes in, he's under my wing, and he's like a brother to me. And he was raw just like he was. Like he came from Virginia Union, HBCU school, great product. And Charles and I, we're best buddies, and we connected together, and a lot of things happened, and Orlando got into some problems, and they shipped out the guys who were doing the problems and so forth. And Michael broke his foot that year.
Yeah,
right.
I was about to say, yeah.
And Stan went and got the Iceman, brought the Iceman to Chicago.
Right, that's right.
And then also brought John Paxson. John Paxson played with us in San Antonio.
That's right.
So, Yep, John Paxson comes in. Orlando.
A lot of your Spurs teammates came over to Chicago, right?
Yeah. Jerry Krause sat and talked with me and Ice. He was going to try to make the deal, and he said, we're going to go on your opinion. What do you think about John Paxson? And they were just saying, Ice was saying he can ball. I said, no, he'd be great for us. He'd be this, da, da, da. He says, well, I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna listen to you and understand that. Okay, I'm gonna make this deal. And he bought John Paxson. So and that's how John Paxson comes. So now I got Ice and John with me. I got a picture that I have in my office of the three of us coming off the court together after a game. And John is a great guy to me to this very day. We still stay in touch.
Yeah, we have a comment here from one of our viewers. Yeah, he points out you were actually teammates with 3 former PBA imports. Okay, there. With the Spurs, you were teammates with David Thirdkill. And then,
David Thirdkill, Michael Holden, love Michael Holden, and definitely loves me some Steve Coulter.
Yeah.
And then I think there's another guy. I think Perry Young was your teammate too for a bit, right?
Yeah, for a bit. Yeah, guys were coming
Perry Young. He played here too. Perry Young.
Really? Yeah, good dude, man. These guys were Michael Holden. These guys were good. They were awesome. Awesome. There's some really awesome guys with a good heart and good people that people don't even remember. That were just amazing. That I had a chance to play with and play alongside.
Yeah. Thirdkill won a championship here. 87, I think. Holton came over, I think, in 86. So
and he made it to the finals, but he lost in the finals. Over here. So
and then Coulter,
there was big talk. There was big talk when Michael Holton came in because they said this guy guards Michael Jordan in practice. So that was the hype when he came in.
He did. Yep, he had to guard Michael. He wasn't afraid of Michael. That was a good thing about it. Michael's what makes Michael so great was his practice. When he came into practice, he would not cross the line. He'd talk and jabber. Once he crossed the line, it was all business, and he would go at it, and we beat him up. I mean, Oakley and myself, we rough him up, beat him up, all that, and we saw some things that you didn't see in games. I mean, he did some dunks. He said, I said, could you do that again? He didn't even know. He said, I don't know if I can do that again. Practices were so amazing at the time, but we didn't have a deep bench. So Michael had his own ways about him. I mean, I know you saw The Last Dance. He talked about the guys but that was his rookie year when he was talking about all those guys doing the drugs. We didn't have that problem the second when I got there, and there was a couple of guys that did do it, like Orlando and Quentin got shipped out. Yeah, they got shipped out.
Right.
I wound up getting the starting spot and didn't let it go.
I have to mention this because when I saw that Gene Banks might be on our show and all of that, I just remember on the days of Betamax. Remember, we had Betamax tapes. I had a couple of Betamax. I got a couple of Betamax tapes, and one of them was the Chicago Bulls versus the New York Knicks game, and you were there. That's why I know who you are, because we wouldn't get live feeds. Back then in the early 80s, mid 80s, we wouldn't have live feeds of the NBA.
Oh my God!
We had to rent Betamax tapes. And so that's one of the games I had, and I don't think I ever returned it to the Betamax shop. I had it with me, till whatever, and I would watch that game again and again. That's why I knew who Gene Banks was and what he could do, and he played very well in that game, aside from all the other guys. So just a story I had to say because I had to mention Betamax.
Well, I appreciate it. I had to adjust and do a lot of things. My thing was for those teams to make sure I did all the dirty work, the intangibles, and so forth.
Right.
And I think I did well in that. I could have shot more but I didn't want to force it. But then if I got mad or anything and do some certain situations, I would do that. But everything was in the framework of the team and the structure, and that's how I played. And I just and because of playing in Philip, Andrew would tell you, you had to play hard. You go out there, you had the ball because guys would bust you up, and then if you didn't play well, you were sitting on the side and you never got a chance to get in there. So I got groomed and raised by guys like Andrew Fields and Gilbert Saunders and Tim Smith and all those guys that came up and played against, and that helped me, that carried me through even to definitely Duke, but also in the NBA.
No, but this is what always puzzled me, Gene. So you were having a pretty good career, averaging double digits, playing well for the Bulls. What happened after 1985? Was that, or was it 86? When suddenly you were out of the league.
I ruptured my Achilles tendon.
Oh, okay.
I was playing the Berkeley All-Star game we have every year, and I ruptured my Achilles tendon, came back, and Jerry, that's when the Bulls and I, we soured on some things. Doug Collins was the coach. Doug was really, I will just say this and move on. He was not very supportive. He really caused behind. He did it quietly, but I'm not bitter or angry about it. And but he was more of Achilles heel than my Achilles heel for me. So I ruptured my Achilles, and they stopped the Baker League because the Bulls were going to fine me my salary for that year for playing in a game that was not sanctioned, and that was not true. It was a lot of things that happened during that time. Even the game at that time was not even insured. But and I've learned a lot about what has happened and what has transpired through all that time, and through my demise, I had to go through that. But I've had some highs, I've had some lows. The one thing I learned more than anything else was that I always got back up, but I never thought that I was not going to play again. With the Achilles heel, I felt I was just going to heal up, and luckily it didn't roll all the way up. So then I wound up playing overseas, and that was a great experience as well.
Right. Let's look at the next photo, Carly.
I think it's about the overseas stints. Oh, here you go.
That's Italy. That's when you were with Arimo.
I was in Italy. I was coming back from my Achilles tendon, and before that, I played. When I went there, and Artis Gilmore was on that team. Our agents, we had the same agent. Our agent put together a package for us to go over and play Arimo Bologna. It was my first time coming back playing, and I was okay. I was good as far as my it was the rehabilitation and so forth. But I played good enough, decent enough. But I didn't finish the whole season. I came on back home, and then wound up sitting out a year. Then going to play in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Now that was a team that was in the CBA.
Right.
That was an experience which was awesome, great, crazy, the whole 9 yards. Because I played with great guys like Leo Routens, Billy Martin, Tony White, Andre Turner, Richie Johnson. I mean, Lancaster Gordon, Riley. I mean, there was that team, and they were coached by Flip Saunders, the late Flip Saunders.
Yeah.
We won a championship that year. So lacrosse in like 6 feet of snow. So we're getting like $500 a week if we're getting that much. You know, it was an I never said I would ever. You can never say never. So
were you paid on time? Because there were stories about
any
those
of
salaries
the
being held back.
Then if the checks bounce because
no,
we had
the Catbirds were pretty solid. You know, we had,
Okay.
we the hotel was right next to the arena, and they were solid with their payment. And Flip was awesome. His son Ryan was a little kid. Now Ryan was also with me. The funny thing is, I come back years later, and I know I might be jumping ahead, but I'm assistant coach in the NBA with Washington Wizards, and Flip Saunders is the coach. He brings me in as his coach. His son Ryan is on the coaching staff, and we knew each other from way back 20-something years before that.
So every year, Pats meet with these people. You never know who you're going to meet again. Like Stan Albeck's with you in San Antonio, suddenly he's with the Bulls, and then all these teammates, Corzine and all these guys. You're playing with them here, you're playing in another place, but then you find yourself abroad. So, but you became a legend in Israel for a couple of seasons.
It's been crazy. I mean, I enjoyed playing. I had to work, I had to pay bills and stuff, and I had a family, so. I played in France, in Montpellier, France, and I left the lacrosse Catbirds. We had one more game left to win the championship, so I wound up going to Montpellier, France, to help them stay up in the barrage. They played in this barrage tournament, and I wound up going there and playing, kept them up, and we had contract disputes, so I wound up going over to Israel because I had to. It's a long story about that, how I wound up in Israel. But I wound up going to a team called Maccabi Rishon, and they had just come up from second division. And they had a kid named Andre Spencer. If you see the picture of him, he was like a Michael Jordan type of player. Amazing. Sorry to say that Andre passed away a couple of years ago. He had a situation with his diabetes thing, but he was an amazing Michael Jordan type player. This team we were projected to finish 12th. But we wound up going to the championship, just like Duke. It was almost just like Duke. It was a Cinderella year. The guy that's number 15, that was Corky Nelson. Corky got hurt. He was our center. So I wound up playing a lot of the center spot. It was like Magic Johnson when he played against the 76ers playing the center position, winning the championship. And that's why I played it in that way. But my experience in Israel was amazing. It was amazing. And the people there, I was kind of scared at first because the guys walk around with rifles and guns and stuff. But you get comfortable with it because you're safe. You're safe, and became a legend in Israel.
Yeah, you were named the best player ever for Maccabi Rishon.
That was a high, unbelievable, because they've had some awesome players there. They've had some awesome players, but it was just playing. And my game is always about making sure everybody else is involved, getting everybody involved, bringing the best out of other players, and that's what it is. That's, I guess, my strength. It's not like I got to score a lot of points, because it's not about that. It's about winning. Especially overseas, you got to win. You can have 30 points a game. You lose, they're gonna get you out of there. So it's my philosophy and thinking, and always about winning and what it takes to win. If it means going into the stands, it means getting bloodied up. That was what it was all about. Is just winning the game.
I'm curious, what were your numbers like when you were playing in Israel? How many points a game, rebounds?
I think it was like 23, 24, something like that. But it was not just the numbers of scoring, but it was also the rebounding and the assists.
Right.
I had high numbers in assists and rebounds. So I always believe in this playing a complete game as best way I can, and that's what I did. I can dribble so I can bring the ball up. I knew how to bring the ball back out and let the play run instead of just. It was never so much about me myself, unless you got cracked in the jaw and got pissed off, but it was always about whatever I did was best for the team for us to win the game.
When did you hang up your sneakers? When did you finally decide it's time to stop playing professional ball?
I was trying, I've only signed, every time I went overseas, I only signed one year contracts. I was always trying to stop playing. And then, I twisted my knee a little bit in Israel, and I wound up healing and going down to Argentina. I played in the Argentina League.
Okay.
I saw Manu Ginobili as a junior playing when I was in Argentina. So I played for a team in Veneta Tuerta called Olympia. And I shifted from being a big man to I played the two guard.
Well, it's crazy though. You mentioned Manu Ginobili, because I wanted to comment earlier when the photo of you in a Spurs jersey was shown. You and Manu actually shared the same number for the Spurs.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, number 20, and it turns out you met him before he became Manu Ginobili. Right?
Yeah, we had a game in one of. I came in. It was a junior game, and this young kid, Manu Ginobili, was playing. I remember that, and he was playing. He was balling. He doesn't remember it, and I just got down for the team, and these junior kids were playing before us. And the fans we were just coming in before we get dressed, and we're watching junior kids play, and everybody says that kid's really good. And I went over to him. He went over to me. We shook each other's hand. He didn't know me. I just heard who he was, kind of just junior kid. And that's the first time we met. And we've never had a chance to talk about that ever. That I remember that so distinctly.
Yeah, and then he became another world a guy who played so well in the world stage, not just in the NBA.
For sure.
Yeah, nice
amazing.
lefty and jumper. Yeah, the guy was really good. And so you finally you retired from playing professional basketball, Gene. I know eventually you mentioned that you became an assistant coach for the Wizards, but what did you do in between before you became an assistant coach?
I was, I had to deal with some things. The one of the things I had to deal with, my wife passed away in '97, so that was a very difficult time for us. It changed our whole life and our whole world. She died from multiple sclerosis. And we had to deal with that for a couple of years. We had the kids and so forth, and that was a very difficult time for me and for all of us dealing with that. And then I went on because I wasn't doing basketball pretty much. I went on to create a sports magazine. I went on to become the athletic director at a college, Bennett College. I did a plethora of things that were. I had to work. I had to work to keep things going. But I was really much a Mr. Mom for like a year and a half, 2 years. My mother-in-law was awesome in helping with that and supporting that and making sure we get up and the kids go to school and have breakfast and be there, standing with my cup of coffee when they got off the school bus, that kind of thing. And I kind of loved it. But I didn't really miss basketball. But it was just a thing where when things like that happen, you just follow suit and do what you have to do. And I was being Mr. Mom at the time. So and things were rough, hard at times, but we never gave up hope, never gave up faith. So many people I have to thank for being supportive of me during that time. And before you know it, I just never gave up, never doubted it. And then the assistant coach with the Wizards come up, and that's another story in itself. And that was, I think that was God's way of rewarding me for staying strong and staying patent. And I promised my wife I would take care of her mother and did that. So I think that was God's reward back to me for trying to do and doing the right thing.
So you're an assistant coach. You're back into the thick of things in the NBA, and then I'm sure that kind of pumped you up, But there was a player with the Wizards at the time, and I don't know if you know, because he became a superstar for the Philippines, played for the Philippine national team for a few seasons. His name's Andre Blatch. He played with under you, and you met him. Can you talk about Andre Blatch? Because he became like a legend here. He brought us to the World Cup in 2014. won a game there, and then played for the next
He
few
was
seasons.
he was one of my projects.
Uh-huh.
Flip said you got to take you got to watch JaVale McGee, Shaggy P, that's Nick Young,
Shaggy P, yeah.
and Andre Blatch. I called them the Three Stooges because they just did crazy stuff all the time. They just they wore me out. But those are my projects. And let me just tell you about Andre Blatch. Andre Blatch, if he dedicated himself, which he did at times, but not consistently, Andre Blatch could have been one of the best power forwards in the league.
I agree.
He was so talented. I mean, the kid was just amazing. And when he gets going and gets flowing, he was hard to stop. He was a joy. He was a joy player that the only thing I regret about him and get angry about him is that he didn't really just dedicate himself to the game completely. You know, he played and he played good. Then all of a sudden he has this other part of himself that he wants to enjoy life. But if he'd have just completely dedicated himself to the game, it would have been boring. But he would have been the best player in NBA history, one of the best players in NBA history. Easily.
I think we agree totally, and that is the Andre Blatch that we know. You know, he would be great at times, and we would go nuts cheering for him. And then other times we're like, "What's going on with Andre Blatch today?" You know, he's not playing the same way he's supposed to be playing.
That was Andre. That was Andre.
We got a chance to meet him. He would hang out here in Manila, watch the pro league. He'd be sitting on the sidelines. A lot of his teammates would be playing in their respective clubs and all of that. So so he was with the Philippine team for many years.
Loved the guy. I was like somewhat like an uncle to him, and his family's. I knew his aunt, Leslie Rosier, and loved her to death. And it's just awesome person. He was that enigma of a guy just saying, man, what if he just completely dedicated himself?
Yep.
He gave Kevin Garnett fits. You know, there were guys that go against him. He just you look at him and you just want to. There were games that I was amazed at him, but I wasn't surprised.
Yeah. That's the way it goes. You know, it just doesn't work out the way we want it to all the time. But that's Sid. Anything to add?
I want to just ask about this photo. This is a great photo of you and Coach K.
And Allah Abdel Nabi.
Yeah, we took that photo. Coach K has a fantasy camp he has every year in late May, and all the guys come back. All the Duke players come back, and we coach these guys. These men. Guys like you guys, you know, you got a lot of money. You got 15 to 20 grand. You can come and be in this camp. It's like a fantasy camp, and we come down and we do that every year, which is amazing. And the guy that's behind Coach K, that's Coach K's favorite boyhood friend from grade school, Mo. Okay. Mo comes down and hangs with him sometime. That's Coach K's great best friend from back when they were in grade school, and that's Allah Al-Nabi. You know, Allah does the color commentating for the Philadelphia 76ers. Right. So we're brothers, and K Coach is like real laid back during the fantasy camp, and that was a great photo because we all had fun and laughed and joked with each other, and because he's the man now. He is it. He's the pharaoh. So we have a good relationship. I respect him. The one thing about Coach K that I like more than anything else that I've had a great respect for is his family. He has a great love of family. You can say all the X's and O's, but if you've been around him and see how he's had with the family, his daughters were 8 or 9 years old when he came there, and I still do things for the Duke Business School with the CA with coaches, he's awesome when it comes to his family, and he's always been awesome with me, with my girls and my kids. He would stop doing what he's doing, and that means a lot for him to get up and stop and hug my daughters, knowing that they lost their mother and seeing them grow up. When he does that you don't have no idea what that does for the respect I have for him when he shows that love to them every single time, even today.
Yeah. So great. Just a great guy, huh?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah, what year is this photo?
This would have to be, I would say, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
before
I'm
the
just
pandemic.
because Coach K looks like
Yep.
he's still in his 30s here.
Yeah, it was about. It was. I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, that was about that
Okay.
time. Because now all of a sudden this stuff here it was all black. Now one night all this stuff turned gray and silver. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going through
learning
that
how to
right
get.
now.
I'm
Yeah,
learning how
yeah.
to get older, man.
We're going through that as well now, Sid and
Oh
I.
my
But
God, it's
yeah.
unbelievable. You're
But
learning.
how are you? How are you involved with basketball now, Jim? I mean, you still do clinics and stuff like that. You still teaching young kids?
Yeah, I was doing it. I was up in Canada for about a couple of years. During that year, there was a sports camp up in Canada that I was doing every summer for 2 months, and I was training kids. And people want me to train the kids. I don't really train their kids because you just can't do one training. I mean, I can make a ton of money if I wanted to, but you got to be consistent for that kid to be there one after another, and my schedule is not. I wasn't conducive for that. I spent 2 years at Gaston College. I brought back athletics to a community college after 50 years. Brought that back, became the athletic director, and then also from there, I became the special advisor to the president and shifted up. But I didn't stay there. The reason why I didn't stay there longer because there's a difference of opinions on things with the president and myself. I didn't think we have a problem, but I felt it was best I go ahead and move on. I made the accomplishment of giving athletics back. That's the school that Leonard Hamilton went to, the coach of Florida State Community College. And I took the job of didn't really want to take the job, but I took the job because it was a way for me to calm down and have deal with an everyday structure and have me flying around speaking over here and speaking there, doing this and doing that. And I love that portion of doing that. But when you get into that kind of situation, you have alpha dogs, and one wants to be the alpha dog. And I just felt I just stepped back and do some because I have a lot of projects. I do a lot of things with the foundation that I have, which I'm going to change. Ideas, especially when it comes to youth. And I do a lot of programs in the inner cities where they're underprivileged kids that don't have much of anything because I come from that type of situation. So to give credence, that's what I'm building up now. And I got 4 or 5 different projects. I'm just trying to rest. I've had 2 hips replaced now, which is
wow,
amazing.
okay.
Yeah, and I'm walking like normal. So I went through that. We're learning how to get older. I know Andrew can tell you about this. He's getting ready to get these surgeries. I'm like the $6 million man right now with all the stuff.
Yeah.
Lee Majors, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I know
The
about
bionic man. Yeah. So, but I'm sure this is something you're very proud of. Obviously, you have the ring. You're a Duke lifer for sure. You got all the gear and the cap. So Duke is you're very much a part of Duke, and Duke's very much a part of you. A Hall of Fame in 1994 and the Duke Hall of Honors in 1996. So that's really great combination of athletics and academics, which is what Duke was all about, as you mentioned earlier. So I'm pretty sure you're proud of that.
Well, one thing I want to make clear, the thing that they don't really talk about, people say, everybody else says it, but God led me to go there. I mean, I'm not giving no spiritual speech and all that, but I did that, and I brought Duke back to the pinnacle of where they had one time back in 63, 64, but this was a modern era. I'm very thankful for that. The awards and accolades are nice. Like I'll wear that. That's the only jewelry I wear. I'll wear that ring from time to time because there's a lot of Duke fans that like to see that. But I'm so happy and glad that the achievements happened at Duke because I carried Philadelphia with me. I represented all the players. That goes with Andrew and all the guys, my speed boys. Everything I did at Duke I knew I had to do well there because I almost flunked out of school one time. I cried in my dean's office because I said I didn't want to go back to Philadelphia with my tail between my legs, and I wasn't going anywhere else. And she was Dean Elizabeth Nathans. She was the one that put the foot in the fire up my butt and made me, and she got me, Dr. Debwall from my high school. I had people that were just so supportive of me and stood by me and helped me even through all the craziness that was going on. And I'm just happy to see Duke achieve one of the things I wanted to do, and I told him that before I left, says when I leave from Duke, there's going to be a lot of African American players coming after me. And that's why I'm glad I came. I want them to see that I go to Duke at an institution like Duke and achieve and do well on the court and off the court. But I told them, I said, they're coming, and they're coming after me. They're going to be as good as me or better than me, but they're coming. And I said, I'm glad I'm able to be the one to bring them here. And it wasn't just about being sold, but I had to achieve certain type of excellence of giving certain titles of ACC, NCAA All-American, ACC titles, and all that stuff. So that all came with it. But they would not retire my jersey. And that's another story, but in itself, that was all Tom Butters and Bill having their fights. And that's one of the reasons why my jersey's not up there, because of Tom and Bill having little fights, and I was Bill's favorite. But other than that, I'd like to see the jersey retired, only because of the fact that they will only represent all the guys that played with me. Under Jim Suttoff to like you say, Tommy Emma, who died, and Vince Taylor, these guys. And I felt that, I'm not saying I did, everybody says it, but I do know it. I brought a culture of pride to being an African-American going to Duke and representing that and letting all the people know that we have a gift, and we are going to make things happen. And I'm glad I was able to be that pioneer, if you want to call it, they say, to bring the other black athletes to come to Duke and play.
Yeah, and these are some of those guys in these photos, right? Zion, and of course Quinn, and then you have Kyrie and Trajan Langdon.
We have
some guys who followed.
Yep. I mean, it's amazing to hear guys like Dawkins and Vince Taylor said, reason why I came to Duke is I watched you on TV, and I was wondering why you at Duke and seeing your achievements. I literally broke down and cried when Vince Taylor told me that, and then to hear from other players that came after me, it's really humbling. You say that and you feel it when you leave and say, "Oh yeah, I'm bringing all these guys here." No, but when someone tells you that you're the reason why this and you're the reason for that, it's just amazing. I keep saying that was God using me. God Jehovah using me as a spearhead to show His goodness. And like I said, I'm not getting on the spiritual kick, but it's what it was. He used me as a thing and allowed me to be a voice and be a person to show that. And now who benefits from it? Duke is one of the top basketball programs in the world.
Right, for sure, definitely. Well, wow, great stories from Gene Banks. Of course, even Andrew saying, as you can see. We thank you, Gene, for sharing your collegiate and professional career with the Philippine Basketball Association family. And Andrew appreciates you, Gene. So, and we appreciate Andrew Fields for actually making this connection, letting us
thank you.
Get in touch with Gene Banks and bring him on this show. We're such an honored, privileged bunch to have you on the show, Gene. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, you guys don't know, Andrew was, guys, you didn't see you saw Andrew when he was there, but you didn't see Andrew before he got there. He was. He's man. I'm not gonna say so much we idolized him, but he was that guy. Andrew Fields. You say Andrew Fields. We knew. He's that dude. He's a baller. And not only that, but his presence as a person was just always just beautiful. He always been like that, and I'm just thankful that I've had a chance to live this world. Because as you all know, people are leaving here very fast.
Yep.
Coaches and players, and I've lost so many that you have to appreciate every day and appreciate the time that you've had and appreciate the people that you've met. And I'm thankful to do this because of the fact that I want to be able to say this, to share some of my stories and know that, because people really don't know the Philadelphia with Andrew and I came up in. It was just unbelievable, especially talent-wise, basketball-wise. But it was a time, too, where we had gangs, but people kind of cared. We kind of looked out and cared for each other back then. There was a sense of community and family. And that's changed. It has changed completely. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful for you guys letting me be on your show, and I appreciate it. And
Our
God's
pleasure.
you guys. And
It's our pleasure, of course.
Don't forget,
pleasure.
tell everybody if they want to see more, they can go on my website, genebankslegend.com.
Definitely. We're gonna post that as well on our site. But before we let you go, G, we just have our regular segment that we do at the end of the show. And of course, that was Time Capsule. That's the last photo we have, and that was brought to us by Fitbit. We're gonna enter what we call the Twilight Zone. That means we're about to end the show. It's like the last 2 minutes of the game. Okay, so the first segment of the Twilight Zone is called X's or O's. It's brought to us by Tuminugan Farm. It's your private paradise in the heart of Bukidnon. If you want to relax and unwind, why not rejuvenate and reconnect with nature right at the foot of the Kitanglad mountain range in Bukidnon? Choose from a wide range of accommodations like the farmhouse, the bungalow, the cottage, or the tulugan. It can accommodate entire families, groups of friends, backpackers, and even team building events. So check out the website tuminuganfarm.com or Instagram or Facebook for more information. Book now and you can start your Mindanao adventure there today. All right, so beautiful over there. We've seen photos in recent days. But
Nice.
So here's what we do. Gene, on maybe if you come over to the Philippines, we can take you there to Tuminugan Farm. X's or O's. It's a bunch of choices. I made a list of choices. I'll let you choose. You make your choice. You don't have to explain why you chose it. So it's a bunch. I'm going to go down this list that I have. So let's get started, okay? Let's get started. George Gervin or Michael Jordan?
Wow. Dude, come on. Wow.
That's just the first one.
Wow. I had a more intimate relationship with George than so I would go with the Iceman.
George. Iceman, okay, over air. Okay. How about this one? And we hardly mentioned him considering you're from Philadelphia and all of that. Dr. J or Michael Jordan?
Wow. I've had connections with Dr. Now is this wow. Jeez. Michael Dr. J.
Dr. J. Oh, I figured. Okay. How about this? Sedale Threet or John Paxson?
Wow! Oh my goodness, John Paxson. Because Sedale was a treat. He was something else. He was from another planet, but he was fun to play with.
Right, had a nice medium range jumper too. Okay, how about this one? Alvin Robertson or Quinton Daly?
Ooh, Alvin Robertson. I love Alvin.
Alvin Robertson. Okay, I love him too.
My,
The reggae man. Okay, Cotton Fitzsimmons, Doug Collins, or Stan Alback?
Stan Alback. Number one.
Okay.
Cotton Fitzsimmons the last. No disrespect to the late Cotton Fitzsimmons.
Okay. All right, how about this one? Centers in your career, Artis Gilmore or Mike Juminski?
Ooh. Wow. These are tough ones, man, because these are teammates, you know. I've had relationships with these guys, you know, and they both had different flaws. I mean, Artis was just a gentle giant. If he'd have just stepped on people, we'd have won an NBA championship. If he'd have just beat people up, Mike was, oh my God, oh, jeez.
I'm giving you a hard time at almost 11 in the evening. Sorry about that.
That's equal. I mean,
it's a tie. It's a tie. Yeah, it's allowed. Ties are allowed. Okay, the next one. Okay, and I asked these two big white guys on your team, Dave Corzine or Billy Poltz?
Dave Corzine.
Dave Corzine. Okay. Johnny Moore or John Lucas?
Wow. That's a tough one. I wanted to go with Johnny Moore because I played with Johnny more than Luke. Longer.
Okay, Johnny Moore. How about this? Orlando Woolridge or Mike Mitchell?
Mike Mitchell.
Okay.
Hands down.
How about this? In your draft class, Mark Aguirre or Buck Williams?
Buck Williams.
Okay. And he did win the Rookie of the Year over Mark Aguirre. Bulls or Spurs?
Man, that's a tie because
I
had a great time in San Antonio, and Chicago is an awesome sports town.
Okay, so that's a tie. How about this? Bill Foster or Mike Krzyzewski?
Wow, come on, man.
Geez, I'm about to say bye, guys. Okay.
So I only have Mike. The only thing I regret is I didn't have Mike for another year. Only had him for 1 year. So Bill would have to get the nod for that, you know, because I had him for 3 years. And
right.
But like I said, I regret it. The only thing I regret for Mike is that I only had him for 1 year.
Okay. How about this? Who did you like less, the Lakers or the Celtics?
Like less?
Yeah.
The Lakers. I enjoy playing the Lakers.
Oh, okay. You enjoyed playing the league. Okay. How about the Bucks or the Sixers?
Sixers.
Those are the strong ones. Okay, Sixers anytime. Okay, because of Philly, of course.
Yes.
Offense or defense?
I'm more I like defense.
Okay, defense. How about this? Mark Olberding or Charles Oakley?
Ooh, wow. Now
Those
Overding
bruisers, guys who
took,
bump you.
yeah, Overding took me on his wing, but there's no doubt about it. Charles is like my brother. The oak tree is tops, no doubt. The oak tree.
Okay, okay. How about this? North Carolina or North Carolina State?
Wow. That's kind of weird because I'm getting closer to North Carolina guys more now than in State. I love Norm Sloan. My mom loved Norm Sloan. That's a State.
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 Okay.
Carolina.
No. Is it a tie?
Carolina. I would go with Carolina. I go with Carolina. More
Carolina.
interesting.
Okay. Okay. How about this? Wizards or Bullets?
Wizards.
Wizards. Okay. You like the Wizards more. JaVale McGee or Andre Blatch?
Wow. I love them both. That's a tie.
That's a tie. Okay. And then let's show the first photo, please, Carly. This one. Lawrence Fishburne or Samuel Jackson?
Samuel
Jackson. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last photo.
Wow.
Pacino or De Niro?
De Niro.
De Niro wins this time. Okay. That's X's or O's for episode 191 of Eternity of Basketball. I will turn it over now to my partner, Sid Ventura. Go, Sid. Do your
But
segment.
you guys forgot something.
What? Which one?
Which
You
one?
know, I played in a movie called Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, yeah. I saw the photo. That's right.
Yeah.
You were on the TV screen.
It almost changed my whole career. I'm still paying SAG dues just on GP.
I saw that photo. That's right. You with Whoopi Goldberg. You're sitting with her. And
Awesome.
yeah. How was that? How was that experience?
One of the greatest experiences of my life. And I almost with my wife started getting sick was the reason why I didn't carry. I would have carried it on and went on into the movie industry, except for she got sick and I had to stay home.
There's still time.
Yeah, who knows?
There's still time. Who knows, right?
Maybe it'll be a remake, It's all the trend right now, right?
Yeah,
They should do a remake. Whoopi's still here and everybody's still. They should do 82.
Yeah.
That'll be great. Especially That's great.
Right. Okay, Sid, it's your turn now.
Okay. My segment, first of all, brought to you by Manila Cookie Story. Check out all of their great cookie flavors, and just follow their Instagram and Facebook accounts to get more information. They're available in Cultura, Frank and Friends, Snack Exchange, and even in Starbucks. Okay, Manila Cookie Story. Dark chocolate chip is my favorite. Okay, Gene, my question for you is, if you could have dinner with any basketball personality, past or present, living or dead, American or foreign, who would it be and why?
Oscar Robinson.
Okay.
Oh, first time I think we've had that answer, right, Charlie?
Yeah.
Why the Big O? Okay. Why the Big O?
Because he went through a time, especially in high school. I would love to talk about his high school time, what he went through, especially with the racism things that he might have went through and so forth. That would be very interesting. And then him going to college and then to the pros. That would be a very good, interesting story. Matter of fact, I had a podcast called The Bank Shot. And if you go into my website, you can go in there and we won an award for that, directed and produced by Lynette Jackson, myself. And there's some stories in there that people would love to go to GeneBanksLegend.com. And then there's a podcast called The Bank Shot. And there's Iceman's story, there's Bob McAdoo's story, Joey Crawford's story. You got to visit it and listen to those stories. They're amazing. There's 20-something of those stories. And
we will do that.
I thought about getting back into that too as well.
Okay,
Yep,
we will.
You got to check that out. GeneBanksLegend.com. That's the website to go to check out everything about Gene and all the other stuff. But
some stuff in there.
Yeah. Some photos and then the history and all of that.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna check out that Oscar Robertson episode.
That's the website, genebankslegend.com. So
Awesome.
everybody, please
Yes.
check that one out.
And I
So
respond
awesome.
back. I go on there. I respond back that you can leave your contact, and I have a jersey that's out now in West Philadelphia jersey, Duke jersey, and I market my own self. I used to ask other people to do it, but I can market my own self. I've raised the money for my foundation for kids, and all the money I get in for that, I use it for the kids, and that's just awesome. That I got my own Duke jersey that's being marketed, West Philly jersey. I got a beautiful T-shirt that was done by Tunes. So people can learn a lot more about certain things and be helpful, because one of my biggest crusades is going to be against try to stop homelessness, and that's one of my things I'm going to tackle.
That's great. That's great, Gene. Thanks so much. Before we let you go, again, this is the time we enter the last segment. It's called Hello Porky. This is the greetings portion I told you about. Time for you to shout out, acknowledge, thank. Just mention anybody you'd like to from your long basketball career. I'm sure there's a lot of people you want to say hello to.
Well, one of the things I like to say is I'd like to give a special acknowledgement to my friend and teammate Vince Taylor, Howard Morrison, members of the Duke 1978 basketball team, all those games, Scott Getz, Jim Spinarco, Mike Jaminski, just the Robert Hardy, just to name a few. Also want to give a shout out to a lot of the guys that Duke football is really hot right now. And they're going to be playing Notre Dame. And some of my buddies that were there, Mike Barney and Derek Penn, my brother Mike Bennett, Midnight, and I can go down a list of so many people. Dr. Caroline Lattimore, who was very instrumental of carrying me through the things I went through at Duke. And she was the reason why I did graduate. And as you do know, I'm thankful that I was the commencement speaker and I graduated really high in my class. To all my Duke people that were there, STP, thank you so much. To all the people in Greensboro that have been so helpful to me, the Peacemaker, Africa Kilimanjaro and her family, and also to my family, my brothers and sisters, and to my kids. I love you guys, and thank you for being wonderful and being helpful to me and being a headache to me as well sometimes. But and to my coach Joey Goldenberg, West Philadelphia High School, thank you so much for helping me through all this. Sunny Hill, Mohau, Bill Baggett. I can go down a list of so many people. Coach K, Mickey Krzyzewski. There's so many people that it's hard to thank everyone. But I want to say, and more than anything else, I want to give praise and honor and thankful to all those people when I had my really tough times and hard times where I almost wanted to give up, to so many friends. It's just a plethora of people that I want to say thank you to and be appreciative. But the number one person, and I'll knock it in like that, is the Almighty God, Jehovah, and his son, Jesus Christ. Like I said, I don't push it, but I'm thankful that he's been there for me. He's been there for me. When I had the downs and the lows, I want to give praise out to God before I give praise to anything else and anyone else, to God for that. And I'm just thankful for the life I've had, tragedy and comedy. Thank you. And thank you guys. And I'm looking forward to being invited to Philippines.
Oh yeah, sure. We hope you can come over one time. And Sid's going to take you around, take you out for dinner and all of that. You pay for your accommodations when you come over.
I look forward to it. Just let me know. Give me a schedule. Anytime after the 5th, anytime after the 1st of November, let's make it happen.
All right. Good. That's great. So Gene Banks played 468 NBA games in 6 seasons, 11.3 points per game, 5.8 boards, and 2.9 assists on great field goal and free throw percentage. That's something that's missing nowadays. So 54% from the field, 73% from the line. What a career he had, and just great accomplishments all around for you, Gene. We thank you for coming on our show. Before we let you go, we'd like to say thank you to everybody who helps out on the show. San Miguel Corporation always helps us out. To Minugan Farm, Manila Cookie Story, and of course Fitbit. We thank PH Sports Bureau and PBA Archives for the help with the photos and most of the information that we share on this show. We'd like to greet people from the AEOB family who celebrated their birthdays in this past week. Bennett Palad, Andy Howe, of course, Dr. J. Freddy Hubalde and Coach Ruel Gomez are celebrating their birthdays today. So happy birthday to these 4 gentlemen. Thank you to Andrew Fields, of course, for like we said many times earlier, for connecting us with Gene Banks. This is episode 191. It's now in the books. We will announce our next guest as soon as we can on our Facebook page. But in the meantime, that's it for today. Gene Banks, thank you so much for being on our show, sharing your stories about Larry Bird and whoever else, and George Gervin and Michael Jordan, just some of the greats of the game. But you are one of the greats as well, Mr. Gene Tinkerbell Banks, everybody. So thank you so much. So on behalf of Sid Ventura, I'm Charlie Cuna. Gene,
Thank you, Sid.
God bless
Thank
you.
Charlie. God bless
you. Everybody, take care, guys. We'll see you all next week. Thank you so much. And Carla, of course, behind the scenes. There's something. Yeah, we're just going to talk about one thing. Right. Sorry. One last thing. Tomorrow, there's a book launch. Tomorrow. Official book launch and signing for the book When We Were Champions, The Great Days of Philippine Basketball, written by Noel Albano. Seb Sarmenta, of course, will be there. So check it out, guys. Check it out. Hobby Stadium. Tomorrow, free entry starting 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. yan. Andyan yung mga personalities na nandyan. So, they'll be there. Okay? So, please check that out. The Basket Vault is sponsoring that, and there'll be raffle prizes, Q&As, and talks, exhibits, etc., etc. So, panoorin nyo po yan, puntahan nyo po yan. When We Were Champions by Noel Albano. Gene Banks has left the room, and we are going to leave as well. Thank you so much, Carly.
Bye.
Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat. Thank you.
Bye.
A leader in key sectors so vital to the growth of our nation. Food, beverage, packaging, infrastructure, energy, and power. Proudly Filipino, through our well-loved brands, we carry the flag overseas. Yet we've always held out for ourselves a larger purpose. To use our scale, size, and dynamism to deliver products and services that can unlock and accelerate new opportunities for growth and drive our economy forward. We are committed to contribute to a resilient and globally competitive Philippines, where businesses like San Miguel can use their resources and imagination to expand the economy and ensure that prosperity is widely shared. Today, our focus is on generating investments and projects that will enable our country to achieve its full promise. Malasakit is woven into all that we do, from ensuring that more Filipinos are food secure, have access to reliable, sustainable, and affordable energy, world-class roads, airports, mass transit, stronger communities, and greater economic opportunities. We are helping build the Philippines that can carry our 110 million strong population into a future whose defining challenges of our time will be an energy transition, resource scarcity, and the need for greater inclusiveness. As a company, we have set our sights on building the nation of our dreams. By leveraging our expertise, leadership, and reach, as San Miguel, we will do what it takes to build a better future for all Filipinos.